are listening to a program about the formation and functioning of a limited liability company in the United States with Monaza Arfa and Rashim James Northington.
Hello to everyone, you're listening to 2 Clicks Voice FM, and today we're going to talk about the importance of filing an LLC. Why does a professional recommend doing business under a limited liability company? What does CPA Rashid Ali say about doing business under a limited liability company? An LLC has many unique features. An LLC limits personal liability because an LLC is legally separate from its owners. LLCs are responsible for their own debts and obligations, and although you can lose money you have invested in the company, personal assets such as your home and bank account can't be used to collect on business debts. Avoid double taxation and pass-through deduction. The LLC is not usually taxed. Less administrative hassles and paperwork and flexibility in sharing profits. Hello everyone, this is your presenter Monaza Arfa on 2 Clicks Voice FM. We have invited our guest Rashim James Northington, who's the spokesperson of InfoTaxSquare.com, to answer our questions about a limited liability company's completion and its cancellation. InfoTaxSquare.com is one of the United States' top-rated companies as per rating agencies. The Better Business Bureau, which is the largest rating agency of the United States, has awarded InfoTaxSquare.com A+, whereas LLCinfo.com says InfoTaxSquare.com is one of the top 15 online LLC formation services companies in the United States. What do professionals say about InfoTaxSquare.com? Thousands of professionals and individuals have been using InfoTaxSquare.com across the world since 2003. Best Accounting and Tax Services says, excellent services all time, highly recommended. Joseph A. Shaka, CPA PC says, excellent and fast service, very knowledgeable about their business. We will cover in today's program the process of registering for an LLC across the United States, along with compliances, maintenance, taxes, and cancellation of an LLC. Let me say a few words about 2 Clicks Voice FM before we start our program. 2 Clicks Voice FM is a one magic click optimizer which has an ability to play, post, and share your content on the internet to attract more potential clients to increase your sales. No one yet has this ability except 2 Clicks Voice FM. 2 Clicks Voice FM covers every part of digital marketing, and it helps in lower your advertising cost, get more targeted leads, and it contains many dynamic internet marketing features that you may need to grow your business. Let me start this program with the most frequently asked questions about incorporating and filing taxes for a limited liability company that you may have in your mind or you would need to know while you're planning to start a new business under an LLC. Before we start our program, I welcome you, Mr. Northington, to joining us in the studio. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Monaza, for having me here on 2 Clicks Voice FM to talk on behalf of InfoTax Square. I'm here to discuss various topics of the limited liability company, or LLC, that your listeners may be interested in.
Let's proceed with the first question of today's program. Mr. Northington, in which department do you file a limited liability company to register?
A limited liability company files with the Secretary of State and the Internal Revenue Services.
Now tell us, what documents are filed with the Secretary of State and IRS to register an LLC?
Well, you have articles of organization that are filed with the Secretary of State to register an LLC, and you have a Form SS-4 that is filed with the Internal Revenue Services to get an employer identification number. And it's this employer identification number which helps you to open up bank accounts and with filing taxes.
That was very detailed and informative. Now, what contains an article of organization, which is also known as article of formation to register an LLC?
Well, Monaza, the articles of organization generally includes the name of the limited liability company, the name of the members of the limited liability company, the address of the limited liability company, the purpose to perform under a limited liability company, and the date to activate a limited liability company, which can either be instant or future date.
The next question that I want to ask you is, can an article of organization file electronically or is it sent by mail?
Well, you can file either way, but when you file electronically, it is faster and more convenient, and you're least likely to forget the filing fee. If you do send via mail, remember to also mail the filing fee along with it.
Can you tell the listeners now, how can we check name availability of an LLC prior to filing with the Secretary of State to make sure if the name is available to avoid refiling?
Mostly Secretary of States maintains a database to check name availability online to make sure the name is available prior to file to incorporate a limited liability company, but there is no guarantee that you will get the name until it is approved by the state examiner.
The question that I'm going to ask you now is related to indicator. So tell us, what is an indicator and why an indicator is necessary to add at the end of an LLC?
Okay, Manaza. An indicator is added at the end of the company name to distinguish the type of company, and most states require you to add an indicator at the end of an LLC, such as L.L.C. or L.L.C., all caps, or limited liability company. For example, your accountant will be able to determine what type of company you have, whether it is a corporation or an LLC, from your company's name indicator.
That was very informative. I'm sure our listeners must be gaining a lot. Now tell us, do we need to retain an attorney to form a limited liability company?
Certainly, it is not required, but it is recommended to protect you from future lawsuits, and it is always advised to consult an attorney when you are starting a new business.
The program will return after a short break. You are listening to DuClick's Voice FM 24/7 Global Cloud Radio.
Are you looking for a company to help you establish your business and get a business license in the United States? InfoTaxSquare.com provides business registration and support services to help you set up your business in the United States. We will get you started whether you are a U.S. resident or not. InfoTaxSquare.com has been helping businesses since 2003. We have served thousands of happy clients across the United States. Call us today for a consultation. 1-866-754-4460 or 1-516-822-3100. Visit us at www.infotaxsquare.com. We will make it happen.
You deserve a healthy and happy life. In order to do this, make sure to keep you and your surroundings clean. This includes keeping your hands, nose, and eyes clean, and put time aside to work out. You're listening to DuClick's Voice FM Global 24/7 Cloud Radio Station. We are back to the program where we left off about the formation and functioning of a limited liability company in the United States.
Mr. Northington, please tell us, what is the purpose to form SS4?
Okay, Manaza, the purpose of the SS4 is to acquire the EIN from the IRS. And the information on the SS4 includes the name of the limited liability company, a type of limited liability company such as a disregarded corporation or multi-member limited liability company, the address of limited liability company, social security number, and is not applicable for a non-U.S. resident, the date of formation of the limited liability company, the state and county of formation of the limited liability company, and one of the members or owners of the limited liability company.
That was quite detailed. Now tell us, how soon does the Internal Revenue Services issue an employer identification number?
The Internal Revenue Services issues an EIN the same day, provided a social security number is provided to the Internal Revenue Services. Otherwise, if Form SS4 is faxed or it is sent via mail for a manual process, it can take weeks to get an employer identification number.
Moving further, let us discuss a bit about tax filing. So does a limited liability company has the flexibility to convert into a corporation or an S corporation for tax filings?
It depends on each state. Most states do allow conversion from an LLC to corporation and vice versa, whereas a few do not allow conversion of the limited liability company. A new EIN is obtained if the Secretary of State allows for a conversion rather than using existing employer identification numbers due to the change of entity type.
Can a limited liability company move or domesticate from one state to another state with existing history?
Well, it depends on each state. Most states do allow to move a limited liability company from one state to another, whereas few do not allow, and the same employer identification number is used because the entity type is the same.
Can you enlighten us that how to add an additional member in the existing limited liability company?
In most states, articles of an amendment is filed to add a new member or remove an existing member of the limited liability company.
What is the cutoff date to file taxes for a limited liability company?
Okay, normally, a limited liability company files taxes on or before April 15th of each year unless the 15th of April falls on Saturday or any other public holiday that pushes filing day on the first working day.
Can you tell the listeners now that what is the processing time to file a limited liability company?
The processing time in most states is filed the same day, provided the articles of formation is filed electronically unless there is an issue with the entity's name.
Does an L.L.C. renew or file an annual or biennial report to keep an active status?
Absolutely, Manaza. It does. In most states, a limited liability company files one of the reports such as an annual report, a biennial report, statement of information, or an initial report to keep a limited liability active.
Can a limited liability company be sued?
Oh, yes, it can. Every legally registered entity can be sued, and a limited liability company is one of the legally registered entities, and it is capable to be sued.
Can you form a limited liability company other than your home state for an expansion in existing business?
Yes, certainly you can. Yes, a limited liability company is eligible to be formed, other than the home state if you are doing business in other states as well.
The question that I'm now going to put forward is related to non-US residents. So can a non-US resident form a limited liability company?
Certainly, Manaza, yes. The U.S. is the only country where there is no discrimination between a non-resident or resident to form a business. A non-U.S. resident is allowed to register a limited liability company regardless of any immigration status or physically presented in the United States or not.
Can an L.L.C. withdraw payroll for the members of the L.L.C. and its employees?
Members of a limited liability company are not allowed, whereas employees are eligible, unless the members file an election with the IRS for special permission.
Mr. Northington, now tell us that who manages a limited liability company?
Members and managers look after limited liability's company affairs.
What is the cost to incorporate a limited liability company?
Well, it depends on each state because every state has a different filing fee to register a limited liability company.
Can you tell the listeners now that who can serve as a registered agent of a limited liability company?
Manaza, for your information, a registered agent is required to register a company in the United States of any type. A registered agent is a person or entity who receives any official mail from departments. A member or manager of the limited liability company can also serve as a registered agent rather than using other outside services.
Let us discuss about operating agreement now. So, what is an operating agreement and what is its importance?
Okay, the operating agreement is necessary for a limited liability company, although it is not required to submit to the Articles of Organization, but you still can do so. Generally, an attorney prepares the operating agreement, though retaining an attorney to write the operating agreement is also not required, but is highly recommended to save from lawsuits. Now, the operating agreement includes the name and duties of the responsible parties, including members and managers, the physical and mailing address of limited liability company, the policies, profit and loss allocation, the capital contributions, the maintenance of books and records, and other necessary provisions are included which may impact the business.
The program will return after a short break. You are listening to DuClick's Voice FM 24/7 Global Cloud Radio.
Are you interested in incorporating a nonprofit organization in the United States as a U.S. resident or non-U.S. resident? Incorporate your nonprofit, enjoy tax exemptions, and accept donations for your mission. Our business specialists help you to incorporate your business. Legal made simple. InfotechSquare.com has incorporated thousands of religious and non-religious organizations since 2003 all across the United States. For any inquiries, visit us at www.infotechsquare.com or call us at 516-822-3100 or 631-623-5100.
Why doesn't a small business grow? The answer is simple. No flyers, no buyers. Is advertising expensive? The answer is yes. Does advertising need expertise? Yes again. Can you afford ads? The answer is generally no. So you might ask, what should I do? Do not let people forget your name. Act now instead. Call or send us an inquiry for 100% free advertising on DuClicksVoice.fm 24/7 Cloud Radio, the only global radio station that plays and posts your ads. We are back to the program where we left off about the formation and functioning of a limited liability company in the United States.
What is the importance of publications to create a limited liability company?
Manaza, if you have not run the publication for an LLC, your LLC formation is not completed. A few states require you to publish a legal ad or notice in newspapers in order to complete registration of a limited liability company. If it is not done so, your new business will not remain in good standing.
Can a manager manage an LLC rather than a member of an LLC?
Certainly you can. Yes, a manager can be appointed to manage a limited liability company, and it must be disclosed in the operating agreement as well.
Now, let us discuss a bit about filing taxes. So, how does a limited liability company file taxes?
A limited liability company has various ways to file taxes, which depends on how an LLC is structured, such as tax filings for a disregarded entity, tax filings for multi-member limited liability company, tax filings for a limited liability company as an S corporation, tax filings for a limited liability company as a C corporation, and tax filings for a limited liability company as a partnership. Now, Manaza, I will explain these various ways in more detail. Tax filing for a disregarded entity. A disregarded entity files a Form 1040 along with schedules according to your income, such as you file Schedule C for regular business income, Schedule E for rental income, and Schedule F for farming income. Tax filings for multi-member limited liability company. A multi-member limited liability company files Form 1065 and it issues Schedule K1 to all members of an LLC to file income tax returns. A multi-member limited liability company normally does not pay taxes. Rather, members of limited liability companies pay taxes based on their share of income in the LLC. In addition, tax filings for a limited liability company as an S corporation. Filing taxes as an S corporation is also one of the unique features of a limited liability company, which forces someone to do business under an LLC due to its tax filings flexibilities. A Form 2553 is filed with the Internal Revenue Services to get a consent from the IRS. S corporation is also a pass-through entity and it issues K1 to all stockholders and they report income on their income tax return. Resident and a citizen is a necessary condition to apply to form an S corporation. An S corporation files Form 1120S with the Internal Revenue Services to obtain permission for filing taxes as a corporation for an LLC. Now, tax filings for a limited liability company as a C corporation. An LLC can also file taxes as a regular C corporation, and a Form 1120 are filed and there is not a residency requirement applying. Tax filings for a limited liability company as a partnership. A limited liability company also files taxes as a partnership.
Can you tell our listeners now that how to calculate taxes for a limited liability company?
Okay, Manaza, let me explain. A limited liability company does not pay taxes. Rather, members of the LLC pays and they pay according to their ownership and net income in a limited liability company.
I thank you, Mr. Rasheem James Northington, for visiting our studio, and you have shared such a wonderful information with our listeners and users, and I hope you have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much, Manaza, for inviting me here on DuClick's Voice FM on behalf of InfoTax Square to talk about limited liability company registration to all of your listeners.
With this, we have come to the end of this program. Now, I would like to conclude this program with a short message. Starting a new business is one of your life's important decisions, and it is suggested to share your plans with a professional for a professional advice. Like Harper Lee said, many receive advice, only the wise profit from it. For any inquiry about opening a limited liability company, visit infotaxsquare.com. This is your presenter, Manaza Arfa, signing off. Till then, keep listening to DuClick's Voice FM.